in every drop of water.
許多兒童有罪。
เราไม่สามารถที่จะหาน้ำสะอาดที่ดื่มได้
We'd like to tell you some stories.
ถ้าไม่มีน้ำ
Stories about water.
Children died from drinking the polluted water.
When I was young, water was very easy to find. Water became our tradition. We have festivals which are connected to water. We pay respect to the river, to the goddess of the river and streams.
On the banks of the Ping River near the city of Chiang Mai in northern Thailand, Buddhists celebrate the annual Thanksgiving ceremony. Their chant implores respect for all living things. They pray for harmony between people and the natural environment. With its source in the northern hills of Chiang Mai province, the Ping is one of Thailand's important rivers. It's the largest tributary of the Chao Phraya, the country's main river basin.
The Ping River is the lifeblood of everyone. In Chiang Mai province, the main blood vessel. In the past, we have plenty of water all year round. People could grow crops all year round, and the Ping will provide water for all. The water was clean and clear. There was plenty of fish and a lot of vegetation along the riversides.
Whenever competition for scarce natural resources increases, traditional harmonies among communities and with nature prove fragile. The Ping River is no exception. Conflicts over water use between upstream and downstream communities intensified to the point that solutions had to be found. In 1999, the Upper Ping River Basin Committee was established as a forum for all stakeholders on the Ping, to find common ground on sharing and protecting this vital river system. The dialogue has not been easy. Tiap Ur Luang is a lowland rice farmer from the village of Hang Dong. The water supply to irrigate his fields is affected by an upstream community that he says is using too much water.
Water is the most important thing for people. If there is no water, no one can survive. We need it to grow our crops. We need water to drink and to cook with. During the rainy season, when we plant our paddy, there is plenty of water. But by the time the dry season comes, there's not enough water in the reservoir. There just isn't enough for all our crops.
It's not only the farmers who feel the impact of changes in the Ping River and its tributaries. Dr. Wasan is a professor of engineering at Chiang Mai University. He was born and raised on the banks of the Ping River. Today, he is also an active environmentalist.
People have noticed the changes in the last 50 years. In the rainy season, after the rain, we have flood. Quick flood, flash flood, which we didn't have before. And after the flood, we have seen a lot of deposition or siltation along our riverbanks. So the river would become narrower and narrower every year. The main cause is deforestation and the change from the natural forest into agricultural forest.
The Ping River is fed by hundreds of tributaries, which originate in the surrounding hills, where water begins its long journey to the lowlands and eventually to the capital city of Bangkok and the Gulf of Thailand. One of those tributaries is the Mare Ta Chung, where Thiap farms his land.
สำหรับน้ำนี่ก็ที่เอามาใช้ในการเกษตร
The water we use for agriculture to irrigate our fields comes from the Matachang River, which originates in Doi Suthep.
ซึ่งถิ่นกำเนิดนี้ก็มาจากภู
We
เขา
have been farming here for a long time, for many generations.
การเปลี่ยน
But I'm worried about what is going to happen in the future.
ปู่ย่าตายาย
If we cannot store enough water through the dry season, we will have problems maintaining our crops.
ในอนาคตเลยนะถ้าบ่มีที่กักเก็บนี่ก็คงจะลำบากนะครับ
The hills of Doi Suthep overlooking Thiap's farm are home to the Hmong, a tribal people who have lived here for generations. In recent times, the Hmong have begun farming the highlands intensively. Doi Suthep is an ecologically delicate region, but the government allows its habitation because the Hmong are indigenous to the area. Tripop Sai Young is a Hmong village leader.
The water we use comes from the Doi Suthep range in Doi Suthep Pui National Park. The villagers here use the Huay Tong Hon Lake and the Huay Quang Lake on the mountain for our agriculture and our lychee orchards. We have a committee that takes care of the water source because we want to control and use it more effectively for the benefit of our villagers and other people around here. This is lychee fruit and lychee trees. This orchard is the main source of income for the villagers around here.
While tourism is a growing source of income for the Hmong, crops are still important, and the gardens provide food for the village. Here at the source of the Mare Ta Chung, water is plentiful. The Hmong have access to the river at its source, and they are flourishing. But problems arise when the volume of water reaching the lowlands starts to decline. With livelihoods at stake, water conflicts are a sensitive and often emotional matter. People are nervous when addressing these issues.
The first year that we had trouble from the shortage of water during the dry season, it was because the Hmong took water to use in their lychee orchards. We were angry, and we went up to see what they were using, and they had more than 3-inch pipes. When we saw their pipes and how they were using the water, we got very angry, so we attacked the pipes and smashed them. The Hmong people became very upset, and the situation got quite violent. Eventually, a meeting was arranged on the mountain between the Hmong and the lowland people.
Preong Bun Thai is a political activist and environmentalist. She is critical of those who destroy forests and watersheds for the sake of their livelihood. Preong advises farmer representatives who sit on the Hang Dong Water Subcommittee, which is part of the Upper Ping River Basin Pilot Initiative.
When the dry season comes, it is inevitable that there will be conflicts. This committee helps to bring parties together to discuss and solve the problems. It gives them a forum to meet and talk to each other without using violence.
Through negotiations and compromise, the Hang Dong farmers and the Hmong Hill tribe agreed on a method to share the water from the Mare Ta Chung.
We explained to them how we had never had problems with our agriculture until they cut down the highland forest to make their lychee orchards, and the water dried up. Then the Hmong agreed to reduce the diameter of their pipes from 3 to 1.5 inches, and the 4-inch pipe to 2 inches. Now we have a good understanding of each other, and there is a schedule for water use. Like in the morning, when they go to the lychee orchards, they open the valves, and then before they return home, they close the valves again, so that the water will flow down to the lowlands.
We realize that we live at the very source of the river, and there are so many people who are using this water as well. So we have to think about those people. We have to use just enough water to farm our land and not expand further. That will reduce the conflict problem.
Solving the water conflict between the upstream Hmong and the downstream farmers was an important step forward. However, between the mountain villages and the farms, there are other users competing for the waters of the Mare Tachang. A growing tourist industry is consuming large amounts of water. Holiday resorts on the lower mountain slopes divert water from the Mare Tachang before it reaches the rice and vegetable farms at Hang Dong.
The resorts are our biggest problem at the moment. We have tried to make many meetings with the resort owners. There are about 40 resorts in this sub-district of Ban Pong, and a lot of the resorts aren't cooperative. They are very extravagant in their use of water. They even use 6-inch pipes and not just one. Every resort has at least 3 pipes.
We use the water from the Mare Tachang River for gardening and filter it twice to use in the house. And there are villagers who sell bottled drinking water.
Thailand is one of the world's top tourist destinations, and tourism is very important to the national economy. Tourist operators argue that it attracts more investments and generates more revenue than agriculture.
I think we should look into the future because in this area the population is rising and the number of resorts is also growing. So there is an increasing water demand which needs to be solved in the long run.
This resort keeps the stream clear of debris and disposes of its water safely. Other resorts are not so careful, using large amounts of water and, in some cases, discharging sewage into the Mare Tachang. Problems of sharing water occur in other tributaries of the Ping Basin north of Chiang Mai, near the headwaters of the Ping.
This is the Upper Ping River. The water here is very clear because it's so close to the origin of the river. There are no toxins. It is almost pure. The source of the river is right here in Chiang Dao district. Our villagers all help to protect and preserve this area. This is a native weir. This is more than 100 years old. You can see that there is no settlement in front of the weir. The villagers built it together. 3 villages take their water from here. To construct this weir, they use human labor, no high technology. This is a good breeding area for freshwater fish.
These traditional farmers of Ban Dong are concerned about a controversial government dam project in the region and its potential impact on their way of life.
The government has come here to build the young weir across the Ping River. Compared to the natural state of the river that we have just passed by, you can see there is a dramatic change. It is affecting the people living close to the dam. The officials don't explain to the people who may be affected or who may benefit to help them understand.
Environmentalist Nikom Putar is opposed to the introduction of large government water projects at the expense of the indigenous water systems of traditional farming communities.
There have always been clashes over water use in this region. There are conflicts between the small farmers on the one hand and tourism and other industrial groups on the other. These disputes are often violent and unjust. In the midst of these conflicts, the government is coming in with mega projects like damming the Ping and Mae Tang rivers and distributing their water. These projects require a lot of investment. They cost a lot, which leads to more debt for our country. The dams are going to have a definite impact on the ecology of the region. it's going to have an effect on the source of the river, and the local farming communities will lose their indigenous forms of water management.
While farmers worry that new dams will have a negative effect on their livelihood and traditional practices, for the project manager of the Royal Irrigation Department, the advantages of irrigation dams are clear.
There
were many good reasons for building the Mae Ngat Dam, and there are many benefits which have resulted from it. First, it supports the agricultural area on the left side of the Peng River. Second, it produces electricity. Third, it is a breeding ground for freshwater fish. Fourth, it's a recreational area for the public. And lastly, it gives flood protection to Chiang Mai and Lamphun provinces. In the areas on the left and the right banks, the farmers can now produce harvest more than 3 times a year.
The traditional farming communities depend on the natural resources such as land for their homes and for cultivation and water for agriculture. In the past 20 to 30 years, there have been many changes in the region. Changes to the physical landscape and degradation of the environment. We can clearly see that much of the forest cover has been destroyed. So much has been lost that the ability of the remaining forest to absorb the water has been greatly reduced.
Aware of these issues and at times embroiled in the conflicts arising from growing pressure on available water, the government has adopted a new approach, establishing the Department of Water Resources and drafting policies to address water resource management.
In the past, the management of natural resources was mostly done by government. We didn't let the community participate, so there was a problem, because the community did not come to think and work together. In the case of the management of the Peng River Basin, there have been water management committees set up here since 1999. This is the pilot project to improve the Peng River. We have learned a lot from past experience, and now our approach is to encourage the various groups of people to come together to participate in the management of the water resource. If we can achieve good results from this pilot project, it will become a model that we can use in other areas of the country.
Up and down the Peng River, there is agreement on one thing. Pressures of change are here and real. They have to be dealt with, and all water users need to be involved in the process. Through the Upper Peng River Basin Committee, the different communities of the Peng, local NGOs and government departments concerned with water resource management have begun to work together to find a balance between conflicting demands for water. The various stakeholders have much to contribute to make it succeed, and among farmers of the Peng there is a strong tradition of cooperation.
The villagers all help each other. There are traditional ways of sharing water between upstream and downstream users. They have sympathy for each other in water use. This is the unity we achieve when 3 communities work together. This weir allows us to share the water. The water will flow out like this equally, so there is no competition. If there is no weir, it would be unequal, and the villagers would fight to compete for water.
As upstream inhabitants, the Hmong realize their responsibility to protect the watershed of the Mare Ta Chang, which is vital to the health of the Peng River.
In the past, we have been destroying the forest. We needed to for our livelihood, and because we didn't realize the consequences. Later, some government organizations and NGOs came to educate us and to help. Villagers started to become aware that if we are living at the source of the river, we should preserve the water, and if we have water left over, we should share it with others downstream.
The government also is beginning to change the way it manages resources, from fragmented responsibilities of numerous departments to an integrated system of natural resource management.
We have a forestry resource, a soil resource, and a water resource. And there has been a different department responsible for each aspect for each resource. Now we are combining them together in one ministry, the Ministry of Natural Resources and Environment. This ministry will oversee and take care of all these resources together.
I want to make the people to believe that if we maintain good forests, if we take good care of our environment, we would have enough for everyone. We would have enough water for agriculture. We would have enough resources for our living. I'm not going to stop people from using technology or to have modern ways of life. This could go together in balance.